So at the end of last year, I decided to pick the WTA top 10 12 months in advance and try and predict who would be number 1, who would be in the top 10 at the end of this season. We're now at the end of the season, so let's see how close I was to making those predictions. So let's start with the number 10 in the world. This time next year, I reckon it's going to be Zhang. I reckon she's going to get in the top 10 for the first time during the 2024 season. I reckon that she will finish the year at number 10. So not bad to start with. Zhang did finish higher than that, which I didn't expect, but at the end of last year, she was 15 in the world. She makes her top 10 debut. She's in the top 10 pretty secure now as well. At number 5, she obviously won the gold medal at the Olympics as well. That's not worth any points, but Australian Open set her up at the start of the year, and I'll still take her as a top 10 pick. That this time last year she wasn't. Coming in at number 9 in the rankings for this time next year, I reckon it's going to be Krejcikova. She's currently number 10 in the world. I reckon she will stay in the top 10. All right, so not bad. I didn't expect her to win Wimbledon, which is the reason why she's in the top 10 and playing well at the WTA finals, which only made that possible because she did win Wimbledon. But she finished at number 10, so I had her a little bit higher, one spot higher than I expected. But after the first 6 months, Krejcikova fell out of the top 10 and nobody expected her to be even close to where she was. So I'll take that one. I was a little bit lucky, but I'll take it. All right, so the number 8 player in the world this time next year, according to my predictions, I'm going to go with Naomi Osaka. She's been saying a lot of positive things about her comeback in the 2024 season, and I didn't know where to put her in the top 10. I think if she does well at the Slam, she's going to get in the top 10. So I'll put her at number 8. Okay, very optimistic pick. I thought maybe she'd win a Slam. Maybe she'd have a dream fairy tale comeback and she'd win one of the Slams. Maybe the US Open at the end of the year and get a lot of points, get in the top 10. That wasn't to be. She did have a lot of tough draws at the start of the year. She played a lot of top players in the early tournaments, which kind of really hurt her in the rankings and hurt her progression getting through. But maybe next year, maybe I was 12 months earlier, maybe this time next year she'll be in the top 10. Coming in at number 7, I've gone with Maria Sakkari, who's been very consistent over the last few seasons, and I reckon she's going to stay in the top 10. She started to get into some form at the end of last season, so I reckon she might be able to maintain that. So not great with this one. This was one of my worst predictions of that top 10. She fell out of the top 10. She's actually 32 in the world. Really dropped down after losing a lot of points due to injury at the end of the season. And just couldn't break through at the Slam. She just keeps having that problem at the Grand Slams, not being able to break through and have get to a semi-final like she did a couple of years ago, doing so well there. Maybe next year she will. She'll get back up the top. But unfortunately, I was a little too optimistic with Sakkari's consistency. Coming in at number 6 now, and I've gone with Coco Gauff, which might surprise a few. I reckon she might have a bit of a slide. And I know I did say that this time last year where she finished number 3, and I thought she'd finish number 7 or 8, and she did finish number 3 again. But I think next year it's going to be really tough. So she finished at number 3 again. Maybe I should just keep her at number 3 this year and next year and the year after. But she didn't win a Slam, which was a little bit maybe to what I was getting at with those predictions 12 months ago, that I don't think she would have, maybe won another Slam, but she did win the WTA finals and that boosted her right up the rankings. Before she did win that, she was starting to slide though. She was dropping down. She was number 5 or so, number 5 or 6 in the world at the end of last year after the US Open, or the end of this year, I should say. But the WTA finals saved her and she gets to number 3, and maybe next year I'll just pick her at number 3 because she consistently ends that way. Coming in number 5 next year, according to my predictions, is Jessica Pegula. Super consistent. She's currently number 5. I reckon she'll maintain her ranking. She might even make it to a semi-final or a final of a Slam next year, but that's where I'm going to put her. So not far off here. She was number 7, so a little bit higher than I expected, and she did get injured at the start of the year this season, so, maybe could have made some points there that would have kept her at number 5, but I did say she was going to maybe make a Slam final, which was crazy. I didn't even realize that I said that. So, US Open final, that definitely helped her ranking and kept her in the top 10, especially because early on she was injured and lost a lot of points. Coming in number 4 now, and I've got Aryna Sabalenka. A little bit of a drop from her number 1/2 position, because of course she was number 1 till the end of the season and then lost that number 1 spot. Okay, so I should have had more faith. She was so good at the Slams this year. She didn't even play Wimbledon, which is crazy because you would have thought that she would have had a good run at Wimbledon had she have played. Was world number 1 in the end, and it wasn't really close, Swiatek is about 1,000 or so points behind, so really should have kept faith in Sabalenka. Maybe I just wasn't convinced that she was going to win the Australian Open again, but the US Open was great, and great to see her win that, and she also did really well on the clay, which again, maybe a little bit surprised considering her game. So unfortunately, not a great prediction. Coming in number 3 now, and I've gone with Ons Jabeur. Now, she did drop down the rankings this year, was a little bit injured. She was number 2, I think, at the end of 2022. So, 12 months ago, she couldn't predict the injuries, of course. All right, so again, optimism won the day. I did pick her in the Slam predictions to win Wimbledon, so maybe that's where I was thinking. If she wins Wimbledon, she'll be number 3 in the world. But, man, it was not a great year for Jabeur. She kept getting injured. She kept losing matches early. And she dropped out the rankings. She's down outside the top 20 now, and maybe she'll make a comeback next year. But, man, not a great prediction. Coming in number 2 in the rankings for this time next year, I reckon it's going to be Rybakina, if she can stay healthy. So maybe a little asterisk. If she can stay healthy, I think she can go to number 2 in the world and maintain that, because she's been so good. And she's been able to beat everybody in that top 10. That's the big key. Okay, so I did have an asterisk saying that if she was healthy, and unfortunately she wasn't. So she did do well at Wimbledon. She made the semifinals there. Probably should have won the tournament if you know what happened at the end of that tournament with who won and the players that were in that semifinal lineup. She was the favorite for sure by the Final Four. Didn't do well in the Australian Open. I thought she would do better, which if you looked at my Grand Slam predictions, you'll know why. But she did do well at the start of the year. And until about the Wimbledon event, she was doing all right. She was tracking to be top 3, maybe even top 2. And then after that, she didn't play really that much. So unfortunately, injury gets her again. Hopefully next year she won't be as injured, because I reckon she will be a very big threat to that number 1 position if she is healthy. And coming in at number 1, I've got to go with Swiatek again. She played so well at the end of the year, and she started getting some real good form post-US Open. When she lost that number 1 ranking, it really lit a fire under her. Okay, so she finished in number 2, so not bad. I mean, she was the number 1 for the most part of the year, but until Sabalenka started to take over at the end of the season and take her spot at number 1, Swiatek just had too many points to lose at the end. And unfortunately dropped down. Sabalenka finished at number 1, but I'm not too mad at those rankings. I mean, obviously missed out on Kasatkina, who was at number 9. I missed out on Paolini at number 4. I don't think anyone would have picked Paolini 12 months ago, because she was relatively unknown, especially when it comes to top 10 players. Also, nobody would have picked Navarro either, so I'm not too mad at those. But a lot of the players that I mentioned are still in the top 10 now and have been pretty consistent over the last 12 months to be in the top 10. But let me know down in the comments below, how good did you go with your ranking predictions 12 months ago? Because it's not easy doing this stuff. It's fun, but it's definitely not easy, because 12 months later, you could either look like a genius or look like an idiot, or somewhere in between. But there you go. They are my predictions from last year, and I'm not too mad at them. I mean, it could have been better, but that's what they are.